For the better part of my career, more than 20 years, I've been a corporate girl in supply chain management and logistics or classical marketing. But come 2020, COVID and the Great Reset, I got an opportunity to work in a non-profit organization which was helping young unemployed people to be able to break out of that trap of unemployment by connecting them with their first employment opportunity, allowing them to build experience, build that reference letter, and then move on to bigger opportunities. My name is Novantu Nkulwana, and in this season of my life, my ambition is to help the emerging social entrepreneur to be able to flatten that learning curve, scale up their projects, and deliver more impact quicker than ever before. Join us on the NPO Bootcamp as we show you how to level up your social enterprise. Welcome back, podcast family. So what we're going to do in this next session is have a little bit of a masterclass, pulling in from all the wealth of knowledge and experience that Ndade Hlanhla has built up from working over the years with literally thousands and thousands of people that have been benefited from the programs. So we're going to start with the monitoring and evaluation piece. And if you remember earlier on when we were talking about the Gimoja program, this is a program that is in 600 schools, touching thousands, hundreds and thousands of learners. So it's important to understand how they work with all this data, how they make sense of it and present it back to stakeholders like funders, etc. I get that as well.
Yes.
Very good.
Absolutely.
So if I understand correctly, you've got a proper team. Maybe before we even go into the team.
Yes.
For people that are new in the space, what is monitoring and evaluation?
All right.
What does it mean and why do we need it?
That's good. So it's two things. Monitoring is you need to, let's say you make a plan. Remember the plural core that I spoke about. So if you plan, what is a plan? A plan is what am I going to do? Who's going to do it? By when? Right? That is the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And then you need to so you need to say, this is our vision. This is what we want to do. And here's the plan of how we're going to do it. What I'm going to do, when I'm going to do it, who's going to do it. And then you need to monitor if you are implementing the plan accordingly. So we said by the 30th, we want to have an event. Did we have an event? That's monitoring. So when you monitor, you need to have indicators. What's an indicator? An indicator is a proof, right? What is it that will prove that I've done this? It's usually helpful if it is a documentary proof. So from my example, we said on the 30th of March, we want to have an event. So what are going to be the indicators of that? So the indicator is going to be the register, right? Attendance register of the people who came to the event. Okay, and you can have other indicators, right? Maybe the invoice from the venue.
Okay.
Or you may have had a evaluation of the event. Let's say you gave people an evaluation form to tell you how the event went. That can be another indicator, right? So if I come and said, did you have an event on the 30th of March? You pull out your file. Those are the indicators. You show me the attendance register. You show me the invoice of the event of the venue that we hired and the evaluation form. So that is the proof that the event took place. That is monitoring. So we monitor if we are implementing the plan accordingly.
Okay.
This is very important.
That is such a beautiful definition.
Because most of the time, what happens is, and this happens in South Africa a lot, we have a goal that we want to achieve. And we come 5 years down the line, it was not achieved, right? And we say that goal didn't work or what. But what we didn't do is we did not monitor. Did we have a plan? Was it a SMART plan? Everybody knows that. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound, right? Did we implement the plan? That is the key. Because we can't evaluate the effectiveness of our strategies if we don't monitor, because we don't know if we implemented the strategies in the first place, right? You may have a very good strategy. If it doesn't get implemented, you cannot attribute the failure to the strategy.
Right.
It may be just that we just didn't implement, right? So That's monitoring. Monitoring is, are we doing what we said we have to do?
So now if we now take it back to AYDF
Yes.
and look at the different types of programs you run, would you then require different monitoring and evaluation tools depending on what you are evaluating?
Yes. So one of the things that you do when you implement is to develop indicators.
Okay.
So you have your objectives, and next to under objectives, you've got activities, and then you've got indicators, right? So let's take a Kimocha program.
Yes.
For example. So one is, if you start from the start, design the manual, right? So that's the thing. Right. So that's the objective. We want to design the manual. Another objective, you've got the number of activities, right? You've got the design metrics. You've got coming up with outcomes, research, writing, editing, piloting, finalizing, and printing. So all of the activities under the design manual.
Okay.
Objective.
Right.
And each and every one of those are going to have what? Indicators. Right? So we're going to say a design matrix. Right? So a design matrix is a completed design matrix. That's the indicator. You see what I'm saying? In research, you've got the research findings, the outcomes. Those are the outcomes. So that is what, so every program, you have objectives, you have activities, and you have to say, how do I say this thing is done? Actually, we put it as a performance standard. The performance standard starts with this statement. This job would have been satisfactorily performed when? Then you start one. When I have design metrics, right? When I have a list of outcomes. When I have conducted the pilot. When I have printed X manuals, right? So those are the performance standards which are looking at that. And then we've got the indicator for each performance standard. What's going to be the proof that I've done this?
Okay.
Right? And that's what monitoring is all about. So that's the design with Kimocha. Then we have a training, which is the 3-day training of Kimocha coaches, right? So we have, so the training indicators are what? The attendance registers and the evaluation forms. Those are the training indicators. But in order to do a training, you've got a checklist.
Okay.
Right? So what do you do in terms of a training? Checklist from A to Z, right? Which would include issues like, do you have a budget for a training? Do you have a venue for a training? Does the venue have breakaways? Do you have the materials or the whole checklist for a training? But for the activity of training itself, what's the indicator?
The
Attendance register, evaluation.
And evaluation.
That's what it is, right? Then after the training, we then do the implementation, right? So the implementation is twofold. You've got the mass-based, where it's the once-off events, and you've got modular implementation. Mass-based, what's the proof here? It's got an attendance register of the people who attended the mass-based. It shows what topic did you do, date, etc., etc. Modular, the modular form has a number of days. So if you've got 8 modules, you will have 8 spaces for people to sign as they attend each and every day. That's an indicator, that's the proof. Before you do modular, you do a pre-test, right? That I said. So a pre-test has a number of things. We've got the MKT, modular knowledge test, where we test the knowledge that we're about to teach. You've got a self-esteem test. So 2 things that you do to do pre-test. MKT and self-esteem test. Young people, they write. Those are surveys. You give them papers, they write those. The coaches consolidate that, and those are the indicators. You've got the scripts that were written. You've got the consolidated sheet. You've got the average number at the end of the day. That's a pre-test. So you're monitoring all those things. Next, you've got the implementation. Module 1 up to 8. What does that show? It's an attendance register form where each and every person signs. Module 1 you attend, you sign. Module 2 you sign, etc., etc. The coach is signing at the end. That's the indicator of We've got the graduation, we've got certificates. So we've got the graduation certificates, we have attendance register of graduation. You can have pictures that show learners with the certificates, right? So that is the problem. So the monitoring then is having, did you do all those steps? Did you design? Did you train? the number of people that you said you're going to train. Did they attend, all of them, the training? Did they start implementing? Did they meet the target, etc., etc.? So each and every coach has a target. Our standard target is the modular is 610. So
610 what?
for a year, participants, learners.
Okay.
So if I'm a coach, I've got these targets. Mass base, 1,500 participants per year. Modular, 610 per year.
Okay.
That's what I'm.
So mass base would be like the outreach.
Mass base would be like talking in assembly, the once-offs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking in that to everyone in assembly, talking to people at the park, talking with people at the mall, at the clinic, where you don't have a modular repeated contact.
Got it.
Yeah.
So now if we go into the classroom,
Yeah.
where we are in 600 schools,
Yeah.
but that's 600, that's not 600 classrooms.
Yeah.
So it will be times 5 or times something
Yes.
that can get us to 3,000.
Yeah.
How does the monitoring evaluation work
Happens.
at the school?
All right, good. So first, we were paper-based. We're now in transition. So I'll explain. So the purely paper-based is all coaches have their monitoring tools with them. So the people who are going to schools have got the monitoring tools with them. So when they go to school, request a permission, we've got a permission form that the school needs to sign and stamp.
Okay.
To say-
every day when I arrive at
Not every day.
Oh.
For them to give me permission to implement. So it's once off.
Okay.
Right? Next, I then go to the class. I then have to, depending if I'm doing a pre-test, then I'm going to do the pre-test score. So I've got the pre-test surveys, young people do it, and then they sign their attendance register under pre-test. Right? Next, I'm going to do module 1 in the same class. I go with the same form. They're going to sign in module 1, module 2, module 3. That's what's happening in all the 47 offices within Gauteng. Then at the office, we've got area coordinators who are responsible for areas, like I said, 3 or 4 NPOs that I'm looking at as an area coordinator. What is my job? I need to do 2 visits per month to each of my NPOs. The first visit is quality assurance, data verification. So which means when I get into the first visit, I say, bring out all your forms that you've been filling, right? And what I'm doing now is I'm verifying. So you can see, did we have forged signatures? Are kids signing? What's happening? So you actually spend the whole day looking at that. You're looking at.
So this is a proper structured visit. We're not just having a fat chat over coffee.
Not at all.
Okay.
The visit has got a visit form,
Okay.
which is about 5 pages.
Okay.
So every visit, you fill up. This is what you've done, right? And part of the visit is to go to the school, and the teacher has to sign that you were there at the school, and you say, what did you find? So the first one is to quality assure the data, right? And to return it if it's not fine. There are gaps, go and fix this, go and fix that, and to reject some data if it's clear that no,
That
it
happens?
doesn't matter. Yes, no, data is rejected. Yeah.
Okay.
And then after it is quality assured, if the mass-based data, the area coordinators come back with it to the office. So they take the data, they come back with the office. So the NPO can scan or they can copy. So we take a copy, they remain with a copy. Come to the office, and then at the office, we've got data capturers. We'll then take that data and insert it. We have a web-based M&E system. So we hired an outside service provider who actually developed a monitoring and evaluation system. So it has a back end, which is where you capture, and it shows a report, right?
That's a lot of capturing. That's a lot of manual capturing, right?
Yes, it is. It's a lot of manual capturing, but you cannot manage what you can't measure. Yeah, so that is a price that you are willing to pay. You have to pay that price. But it's a very prescient thing that you said, because we had to adjust. So at first, we were capturing each and every learner,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, because they must sign the
Yeah.
attendance register,
Yeah.
right?
So we're capturing each and every learner, and it was a bottleneck system, but we pulled through And then what we did is in 2014, we hired 2 professors from UJ to come and do an evaluation of the Kimoja program.
Okay.
Professor Wim Hollander and Professor Cora Bernard. Brilliant statisticians, right, when it comes to development. So they came, they evaluated, and they did a research, an evaluation research of the program. And one of their recommendations was the paperwork is
cumbersome.
It's a lot. So we made some adjustment from their recommendations. One, instead of requiring every student to do pre and test, they said 25% is a good thing. Right?
Okay, because this is like serious quantitative data.
Yeah.
So in 600 schools, if you've got 6,000, if you've got 100 learners, that's already 600,000, right?
I mean, if you look at, usually it's about 400,000 learners who do modular.
Wow.
Right? So when we requested that, it means you have to capture each and every one of those individually.
100%.
Right.
So they're saying to you, if you sample just 25%,
for the pre and post.
It is adequate.
It's adequate to
be able to get a view.
Yeah, to get a view of what's happening.
Okay.
Then what they then said is, let's move from individual capturing to class capture.
Okay.
So that actually made a huge change, right? So which means the coach goes to a class, they register learners, but whatever things that they capture per class. So which meant our most basic unit is a class. So if you drill it down in our system, so if you go to our MNE system,
yes,
it would say Eguruleni, that's one region, right?
Okay.
And then it would show all the NPOs of Eguruleni, that's maybe about, let's say, 7. Then you can drill down into one NPO, it will show you all the schools and the platforms at NPO. When you drill down to that school, it's going to show you the number of classes.
Right.
But when you drill down, that's where it ends.
Okay.
You
can't go any further.
It can't go any further. So it would say grade 6A, and it would give you average information.
Okay.
On average, grade 6A gets so much pre-test. They got so much post-test. So many learners attended on average.
So it would take the average of the 25%.
No. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So what you do is the pre-test that they've been done, you'd average it. So these are the scores. Yeah, it would aggregate it, and you get an average.
100%.
To say average aggregate for this class is X, pre and post, and then from that you can get an aggregate average for the school.
Understood.
Now, that was the first system. So we're in transition now.
Oh, we're migrating from this one to a more sophisticated one.
Yeah, more sophisticated system. So the first thing that we've done is we provided tablets for the NPOs.
Nice.
So that they capture, so it no longer needs to be captured in the office.
100%.
So each NPO, we don't have...
47.
Yeah, the 47. So we don't have a tablet for every coach, right? That's the ideal. But we maybe have 5, 6 tablets. So they take turns to capture, right? So what that meant then is that each and every coach is a capturer. So they've got a username, they've got a password. So they come in and they capture. And then there are protective systems, obviously, that you can't manipulate that, you can change it, etc. So that was the first move, tablet, but it required a lot of training. It required a lot of monitoring.
And a lot of cash.
Yeah, a lot of cash. And then the team that is capturing now, what it does, the team that used to sit and capture, they do visits.
The team in your office, because the capturing is now happening at the NPO.
At the NPO.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. So you freed them up to do...
Free them up to go, train, visit, deal with challenges. However, you have from time to time certain NPOs which don't capture. The tablet is stolen, they don't capture. So what we do then is we do take that data, and the team would then capture that data at the office to assist. But by and large, I think it's taken us 2 years. We're at the point now where the capturing on the ground is kind of almost the norm right now, right? So that was a huge move for us.
So you've migrated from Excel and paper-based how many years ago? You've been on system for how long?
Excel, okay. So let me see. Excel, we're on Excel 2010.
That's 14 years ago.
Yeah, that was Excel. And I think from 2011, 2012, we then started looking for service providers. Now, by the way, I was coming from Love Life. So Love Life had a very good M&A system. Very, very, very good by the Dr. David Harrison and the team. So I was aware of that. I worked with the lady who was managing that, Judy Murray. So I was always envious of that. So when I came to AOIDF, I then requested the gentleman who was designing for Love Life. He designed something for us. He was actually migrated to Australia. So that was the first time that I was exposed to somebody working on the other end.
You tracked him down all the way to Australia.
I did get hold of him.
Yeah?
Oh, I think I got hold of him before he left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he did our first system.
Nice.
Very expensive. Clunky, but we had a system. Then we moved, we got a second guy from a company called Conca, Victor. And we've been with him all this time.
So he's the one that's designing your system for you.
Yeah.
So that is when you've mentioned expensive, and even me, I'm just seeing lots of zeros here.
Yes.
So for an NPO that's maybe not as big as you, but starting to think that we may need to invest in a system, where is that tipping point where you start to get the value? Because with a system, you're going to have to pay up front, right?
Yeah.
You invest in a system up front and then you get the benefit later.
Yes.
How far can you stretch the Excel before it really becomes a serious bottleneck in the operations that you need this thing?
So I think here is the RAS, the reticular activated system. That's what I've found in my life.
Is it?
I start by wishing for these things.
Yeah.
Being frustrated in trying to get them.
Yeah.
And then we get, right? So in terms of M&A, depending on the model that you use as an NPO, so like for us, we charge for services more or less for running projects. I think that I would say is our model. We're running a project for DSD. So we told them that they want M&E, right? So it becomes part of the cost.
So you are able to pass on these costs?
We always, to them. And when we have other clients, right, we'll charge them for the M&E. So when you do a proposal, you always put a charge for an M&E.
Okay.
And you can do that pro rata.
Okay.
To say, okay, this client is so much, this thing is costing me so much, what do we do?
Okay.
So the M&E system, what we found is it's expensive to design, right? But if you go to Victor Conca, I would
Victor is the man. He's the plug.
Victor is the man. He did this for us.
Okay.
Very reasonably.
Okay.
Like,
so he designed it from scratch.
He designed it from scratch.
Okay. But hold on, you had an idea based on what you had worked with at Love Life.
Yes.
So you could kind of give him some guidance in terms of what it needed to deliver, what functionality it needed to have.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So we are now transitioning from Vic, my friend. We got now people who we had to, this is where now we had to spend a bit of money. And it took us maybe 3-4 years to raise it. But it's the RAS again. We just determined we need to have this, you know. So we now have a better system, which is the one that you saw when Onirato showed you. We are in the piloting phase. We're going to launch it. But the nice thing about that one is it takes us back now to what we lost, which was individual capturing. You see.
Okay, at the class level, we are now aggregating.
We're now going down.
Okay, you'll be able to drill into that level.
We'll be able to drill down. Now that brings amazing payoffs.
Tell us, what are those payoffs?
One is we've had, I think, over 4,000 coaches, right, who just passed through, implemented and went, right? So the best that they can do, because one of the motivators that I tell coaches, because M&E is not a sexy thing. You know, I mean, our team are motivators, they do icebreakers, they love that exciting bit. but they're sitting down with paper, calculating percentages, etc. So the first thing that we've done is we weighted our scores. Motivation gets more weight. So if I get 2 names, one name from mass, one name from the modular, they don't weigh the same. The name from the mass can only get 10%, and the modular can give you up to 90%. Right? Because you've seen this person more than once. So if you give me a name from modular, 50%. You give me a pre-test, 20%. You give me a post-test, another 20%. So you see, that is how we are motivating them to do that. And then when they get the awards at the end, they get awarded in accordance with that performance. So we have in our program an amazing situation where our teams, remember I told you they have to choose us 25% of the sample. They want to do more. Because that's what gets rewarded. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
So the first benefit is the implementer will be able to have a record of these are the young people that are impacted. They can put that in their CV. They can put that in their portfolio. You understand? With all the confidentiality, obviously, and poor peer issues attended to. All our forms have with the poor peer
consent.
Yeah, consent, etc. That's number 1. Number 2, which is a key, we can be able to trace what happens to a student. If somebody has done manual 1, manual 2, manual 3, they did alternative with us, they did this, can be able to see it, right? And if we see that, we can look at, okay, what's the impact of that in their school results? Because we've got their school results. What's their impact in the school results as they continue, right? And as time continues, we can be able to say, let's say there's a rehab and we've got the people who are in that rehab. We can be able to see, were these people part of our program? What do they do? Which schools do they come from? Did the schools have policies? Did the schools? So it's got amazing research capability. And with the promise of that is just exciting, yeah. But we're in that transition and we are busy with that. So
that is beautiful.
Our RAS is guiding us.
Lovely.
Towards that.
I think that's a good place to park the M&E Masterclass. Do you feel we've exhausted, we've taken out all your insights on monitoring and evaluation?
Maybe just to emphasize how important it is. You cannot manage what you cannot measure. And funders are impressed with the M&E. One of the words that we constantly get is when government votes, it's like, this will help me with parliamentary questions.
Really?
So when Parliament is asking about this, usually officials have to run around to regions, to whatever. So if you have an M&E, you just go to the M&E and you get the data, right?
So you guys are fixing the country.
So the other thing is all implementers have access to their work. So this NPO has a username and a password which shows them their work. The provincial office can see everything. The region can see only their NPOs. So the advantage of this is that your funders know that they can go into the internet and see what's happening. They don't have to meet you all the time. They can just look at that. And people find that quite attractive.
Wonderful. So for you at AYDF, there's never been a pre-M&E season. You've always come in with that thinking from your Love Life days.
So there's been, one is that Love Life was doing most of the monitoring of the data that was happening. So we got reports and stuff like that, right? So maybe just a bit of explanation. So from 1995 Michael Finley founded Myers and Associates. That's the parent of AYDF. AYDF was born 2004. So this was after Love Life.
Okay.
So this is a culture that's been created throughout. So yes, so after Love Life, we had quite a time of Excel, right? With all the problems. So one advice on Excel is learn how to log the cells.
To lock the cells.
Yeah, especially the cells with the formulas, because that's where the problem is. If you're capturing a lot of data and your pinky touches the cell with the formula, it's a headache. So just go YouTube, wherever, and say how to lock, and then lock the cells with the formulas. But yeah, Excel is a headache as you grow. Yeah.
Yeah, now you're living the soft life. Yeah, we've got software that can do...
It sounds soft, but it's a lot of work. You know what Mandela said? After you climbed one mountain, what you discover is other mountains.
There's another one.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That is, shall we take a quick break and then go into the financial management?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.